So thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for being here again. I think the next speaker also, at least to many Taiwanese, needs no further introductions. Dr. Scott Busby, the acting principal deputy assistant secretary of the States for the Bureau of the Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor. Dr. Busby actually has been in Taiwan for some time, and stable participants in the GCTF, as well as the issue on the disinformation, in which he chaired and also he lead the effort in the joint Taiwan-US cooperation for the disinformation campaign. And I think my good friend, Katie Chen, from the Vice President of the Taiwan Foundation for Democracy, know this better. And Mr. Scott Busby, that in addition to being the principal deputy assistant secretary of state, he was also the director for human rights in the National Security Council of the White House. Also has been the director of the multilateral and humanitarian affairs in the National Security Council as well, on different time zones. So without further ado, let me welcome Mr. Scott Busby for his speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chung, for that nice introduction. It's an honor to join you this evening from Washington, D.C., where, as you know, it's 13 hours behind your time in Taipei. It's dinner time here. So as I conclude my day, you are just starting what promises to be a day full of productive discussions on how to map the democratic agenda for the next generation. Let me begin by offering thanks to the American Institute in Taiwan for facilitating my participation today. I would also like to thank Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs as host of today's event, as well as the co-hosts, the Center for a New American Security of the United States, the Japan Institute of International Affairs in Tokyo, and of course, the Prospect Foundation of Taiwan. I'd first like to note what a wonderful story Taiwan's journey to democracy is to share with the world. The last time I was in Taipei, I was fortunate enough to visit your new National Human Rights Museum, which powerfully documents the dark days of Taiwan's life under authoritarian rule. It is remarkable how far Taiwan has come in less than 30 years from that time, showing the world how to build and sustain a rights-respecting democratic society. It shows that democracy can thrive in Asia, despite some who claim to the contrary. In healthcare, digital literacy, and overall prosperity, Taiwan has become a global leader from which we all can learn. The United States will continue to highlight Taiwan as such, including through the U.S.-Taiwan consultations on democratic governance in the Indo-Pacific region, the third meeting of which we held last month, as well as the ongoing Summit for Democracy process. It is fitting that we meet on the heels of President Biden's Summit for Democracy, which was held virtually last week. President Biden hosted the summit to reinforce our commitment to placing democracy and human rights at the center of U.S. foreign policy. These values are a critical source of our strength and a key advantage of the United States and our closest partners on the global stage, including Taiwan. The Summit for Democracy reflects President Biden's deeply held belief that in order to tackle the world's most pressing challenges, democratic societies must come together, learn together, stand together, and act together. The U.S. government views the summit process as an opportunity to engage, listen, and speak honestly about the challenges facing democracy in the United States and abroad. It provides an opportunity for governments, civil society, and the private sector to work together on meaningful new commitments and initiatives to advance democracy and to cooperatively build a foundation for democratic renewal globally. The first summit will be followed by a year of action during which countries will work to realize the commitments they just made in conjunction with the first summit. President Biden will host a second Summit for Democracy in approximately 1 year to review progress and discuss next steps. The Biden-Harris administration has made clear that renewing democracy begins by working diligently and transparently to strengthen its foundations at home. Demonstrating that democracy can deliver to improve people's lives and address the greatest challenges of our time is at the heart of President Biden's Build Back Better agenda, from his historic effort to prioritize equity across the U.S. federal government to the passage of the bipartisan infrastructure law, which was enacted earlier this fall. We all understand that the journey towards perfecting our democratic societies is never-ending. No society is ever perfect. We aspire to be accountable and to encourage our people through our democracy to reach their highest potential. We are also committed to proactive and robust engagement with civil society as a vital component of a strong democracy for future generations. We believe the diverse views, ideas, and contributions of civil society are critical to helping resolve socioeconomic challenges, and that we must stand with those who are unfairly persecuted and imprisoned for simply voicing their peaceful opposition to authoritarian governments. Democracy takes work, and it must be inclusive. Our own history has been a journey to try to perfect our union, to honor our historical milestones, as well as to recognize that for some Americans, the journey towards justice and equal treatment has been longer than for others. This includes women and girls. We can't advance our societies without welcoming the immense talents and contributions of women and girls who comprise more than 51% of the world's population. Similarly, we must welcome the talents of marginalized people, including people living with disabilities, members of ethnic and religious minority groups, members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, and intersex communities, to genuinely expand the promise of democracy to all citizens. By doing so, we can together tackle our common challenges, whether it is climate change, clean energy, cybersecurity, human trafficking, transnational criminal organizations, or other challenges. At the summit last week, the United States also placed emphasis on bolstering independent media, particularly through support to something called the New International Fund for Public Interest Media. We also emphasized our commitment to civil society through long-standing U.S.-supported initiatives like the Lifeline Civil Society Assistance Fund. We believe it's critical to partner with other democratic societies on these issues, and we are very appreciative of Taiwan's efforts to work with us to support freedom and democracy around the world. The summit also highlighted that we must work together to address the opportunities and challenges of the digital age. It is more urgent than ever to align the development and governance of data and technology with respect for human rights and democratic principles. Investment in digital technologies and protection of these technologies from misuse are vital to every country's national security and economic interests across all sectors and geographies. Our collective task must be to agree on the values-based principles and actions necessary to build digital democracies and to galvanize investments in and protect technologies that are not only designed and deployed with respect for human rights, but affirmatively make democracies work better. We must also prevent emerging technologies from falling into the hands of those who would misuse them to commit human rights abuses, threaten democracy, or foster instability. As I mentioned earlier, Taiwan is a leader in this area, and we all have much to learn from you on this. As Taiwan's own experience demonstrates, societies that respect and defend democratic institutions, the rule of law, human rights and fundamental freedoms, and gender equality are more stable, prosperous, and secure, and are better equipped to confront global challenges. Another of our key summit messages is that the United States values its partnerships around the world, and the Indo-Pacific region has been of historically great strategic importance to our country. Secretary Blinken will reiterate this message in just a few hours in a speech from Jakarta, Indonesia, and I would recommend you all listen to that speech. Now, as we enter in this period in the 21st century, when democracy is challenged around the world, including in the United States, we must stand with our allies and partners in the Indo-Pacific region to reaffirm our commitment to the international rules-based order and to promote our shared values of peace and respect for human rights and international law. These are strong foundations for our cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region. Like Taiwan, the countries in this region respect the rule of law and democratic values, and the United States intends to seek continued close cooperation to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific. The United States is committed to addressing several issues of central concern in the Indo-Pacific region, including democratic backsliding, transparency, accountability, media and internet freedom, as well as human rights. There have been increasingly dangerous trends of disinformation and aggressive, destabilizing behavior from foreign actors, which undermines democracies. We all can learn from Taiwan's success in creatively confronting these threats. We share Taiwan's aspirations for a free Indo-Pacific region. As Vice President Kamala Harris said during her visit to Singapore in August this year, the region includes some of our closest allies and strongest partners. In 2019, we conducted nearly $2 trillion of two-way trade with the region, underscoring our shared vital national security interest in maintaining freedom of navigation there. These are some hallmarks of America's connection to the Indo-Pacific, where, as Vice President Harris observed, we have long put forward a vision of peace and stability, freedom of the seas, unimpeded lawful commerce, a commitment to the international rules-based order, and the recognition that our common interests are not zero-sum. As President Biden and Vice President have said, our commitment to the Indo-Pacific region includes deepening close bilateral relations and working multilaterally through long-standing institutions like ASEAN, which remains central to the region's architecture, and working with allies and partners through other sub-regional groups like the Mekong-US Partnership and Friends of the Mekong. Within the region, we also seek to energize our comprehensive and global strategic partnership with India through the so-called Quad to sustain a free and open Indo-Pacific. We want to enhance security cooperation with India, and we recognize India as a trusted partner for critical emerging technologies. Our engagement and economic vision in the Indo-Pacific is about advancing an optimistic vision that we have for our participation and partnership in the region. It is neither targeted against any one nation nor designed to make our partners choose between powerful countries. From the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen how challenges can affect everyone without distinction. That's why the Biden administration has made it a priority to seek to ensure all Americans have access to vaccines, even as we are determined to distribute safe and effective vaccines to the world. The United States has provided, with no political strings attached, over 302 million doses of vaccine worldwide in partnership with COVAX or bilaterally, with millions going to Indo-Pacific nations. We understand that promoting global health security as well as respect for human rights are in our mutual interest. As much promise as there is in the Indo-Pacific region, significant challenges remain. Promoting Burma's return to the path to democracy remains a top priority. in addition to supporting Cambodian civil society in promoting multi-party democracy and anti-corruption efforts in the face of rising foreign influence. Corruption, intimidation of civil society and journalists, and the lure of authoritarian solutions to problems such as the COVID-19 pandemic continue to threaten democratic traditions in the region. In addressing these challenges, we believe in strengthening our cooperation with Taiwan, including by deepening economic and trade ties, building the resilience of supply chains, combating the COVID-19 pandemic, promoting people-to-people exchanges, and confronting disinformation. I very much thank you again for welcoming me today. Along with my colleagues in the U.S. government, I look forward to continuing to work closely with Taiwan to advance democratic values for the next generation. Thank you very much.